Hi guys. Hey, the Christmas season has started. All the traditions and preparations and all of that we do every year. Some of you may be looking for a new tradition, and I have one for you that I'll share with you in just a few minutes or less. So when we think about Christmas, a lot of times we think about family and the good times that we have, and just our own personal mix of strange people that we call family, and their quirkiness and all of that goes along with it. You know, mothers, brothers, kids, spouses, husbands, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandfathers, great grandparents, grandmothers, Sometimes it has pain associated with it, as some have passed on and are estranged, or they have rejected us for whatever reason, or maybe they're just distant physically. Then there are the joyful memories that we have associated with Christmas as well. Happy and relationships, joyful relationships, those people that we love to be around that bring about laughter, and we play games and share stories, and we have connections with. Jesus wants to be one of our joyful Christmas memories. He wants a connection with us and to have a relationship with us. Then in another part of Christmas is Advent. Last Sunday, a few days ago, was the first Sunday in Advent, and that's when the Christian New Year begins. It's a little different from January 1st, but it's the New Year for Christians. It begins with a preparation for the celebration of the birthday of Christ, and we also celebrate the second coming of Christ. Today, we're a day closer to that day than we were yesterday. We don't know when it is, but it is coming. We can see that through the many promises that he has kept in the Bible about other things. Okay, the new tradition that you can add or replace some other traditions with this year, you can do it individually or with your family. It's to read one chapter from the book of Luke every day. There are 4 chapters, so you'll finish this on December 24th, Christmas Eve. If you have a Bible, read your study notes. If not, Google Luke chapter 1 study notes, and you'll get all kinds of information, more than you probably have time to read with that. The Advent study we're doing, that I'm reading through, is called Roots. I hope some of you may join me on that. It began today, December 1st. And the verse is Isaiah 11, 1 through 3. And oops, I don't have my Bible here with me. So it talks about Jesse and the roots. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I do want to read this to you, and I could reach the book. Okay, Isaiah 11, chapter 11, verse 1 through 3. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the Spirit of counsel and of might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And he will delight in the fear of the Lord. So that's the verse for today's lesson. And just a little side note here, Isaiah 1, where it says, a shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse, from his roots a branch will bear fruit. I did a painting on that. I've done this series, and that was the last series, the painting from last year, based on this scripture. And I'll share it with you in the notes below the video. Okay. Now, those of you that have the book and you've read it, basically it's saying we all come from somewhere. We all come from someone, somewhere, and something. Someone's the people that we come from. Somewhere is the place that we come from. Maybe it's a region, a country, or a particular town. Maybe it's a mountain life, or maybe we were brought up in the city. We come from somewhere, and we have unique stories about that make us uniquely who we are. Jesus also came from someone. If you go back to the Isaiah verse I just read, he came from the stump was Jesse, and from the root of Jesse. And Jesse had a son named David, and many places in the Bible, you can Google it, it says that he is a son of David. His ancestry goes back to David, which brings about an interesting part here. I think you hear my cat Lulu over here jingling. So in Matthew 1, verse 1 through 17, it gives the lineage of Jesus. This is believed to be the lineage that goes to Joseph's birth. And then you also read it again in Luke 3, verses 23 through 38. And this is believed to be the lineage of Mary, his mother. So they're the same, beginning with Adam, God and Adam, and all the way down many generations through David. They're the same for in both chapters of the Bible. And then they split off a little bit. And one is believed to be that of Mary and the other that of David or Joseph. Okay, so the last few generations from David, we have Salmon, who was married to Rahab. And you've heard the story, probably the childhood song of Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and Rahab, all the walls came tumbling down around the city except for around Rahab's home. Read the story. She was a harlot and not a Jewish or Israel descendant, but she ended up marrying Salmon, who had the son Boaz. And you've probably heard of Boaz, right? His wife was Ruth. This book of Ruth in the Bible, Ruth and Naomi. She left her people, which were Moabites, and they were not friends of the Hebrew people, but she took Naomi's God as her God, and one of Naomi's relatives was Boaz, and that became her husband, and they had a son named Obed, who had a son named Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David. There we go. David, the descendant that Jesus is linked to a lot of times. Okay, so we talked about Rahab, Ruth, and I forgot to mention that David had many wives, one of which was Bathsheba. And if you've read this story, you find out that when he fell in love with her, she was married to someone else, and he orchestrated this event to have her husband killed, and because she had become pregnant. Anyway, she had the child, and they lost that child, but she had another son, and that son's name was Solomon. So then there we go. No matter what, David was beloved by God, but we all make mistakes, and God can use those mistakes to make beautiful things happen in our lives and to further his word and his kingdom. Okay, so Jesus has a crazy family history. He has some nuts that fall out of the tree, I guess, like we do as well. But they're all useful, and a lot of times, and just when you look at your family tree and you think, oh my goodness, how can I mean anything to God? But you can. It doesn't matter where you come from. God can still use you, and it doesn't matter the things that you have done that weren't necessarily right. He can still use you. So more on that later. I want to give you just a brief history on my family tree because an event in my teenage years sticks with me. I went to a family reunion. This is a reunion where I only knew 3 or 4 people. It was a 2-family reunion. One family wasn't even related, and the other one was so distant. Being a preacher's kid, we moved a lot, so I didn't grow up around family, and I really don't know a lot of my family. But we get dragged to family reunions sometimes as kids, right? Well, in this particular one, my dad's first cousin, her name was Millie, and she spoke. And she expressed her thankfulness for her Christian roots. Now, I did some digging to find out more about her recently. Millie was the daughter of a preacher. Her father was a preacher, and her mother was my grandfather's sister. There were 8 kids in his family. Okay, well, my dad is a preacher, and his dad, my grandpa, is a preacher, which was also Millie's grandfather. And then my great-grandfather was a preacher, and my great-great-grandfather. So I'm the daughter of a 4th-generation preacher. And my mom's side of the family also had a strong faith. So I come from a strong faith, but I've definitely made my share of bad decisions and bad choices. That's my history, but I can look back on these people and see what they meant to me and how I can use things that they've taught me as well as the gifts that Jesus gave me to do things to honor and bring honor to him. So I want you to look at your roots. They're not maybe like mine. Maybe they're more like Rahab's or Bathsheba, or maybe you're like like Solomon. That was whatever your roots are. You have some good in there somewhere, I'm sure. And even if you don't, there have been people that have influenced you. So look for those who in your family tree, sometimes friends, that have walked faithfully. Maybe they have stumbled or they have fallen. And look for the gifts God has given you. And see if any of these gifts come from some of these family members. Maybe your artistic gift or speaking gift comes from a family member. Maybe they didn't use it for God, but you can. So see if you can find your gifts that come from family members and your roots and heritage, and see how you can use it for God. Be sure and read Luke chapter 1 today. It's December 1st. And I will talk with you again later. Enjoy the Christmas season. God bless. Love y'all. Bye-bye.